And thank you to all of your incredible leadership of Mass teachers. Deb McCarthy, what a team you guys have. Not just the leaders for Massachusetts, but the leaders for the whole country, looking ahead, leading the way, cutting edge, what needs to be done in order to protect the educational system of our country, the educators, all of the employees in the school system, and the students. And so that's an agenda that Massachusetts is the cutting edge of leadership in the country, and the leaders are here, and the leaders are sitting out here, because all of you look ahead and have the vision which is necessary. And it's my honor as well to be here because you're on the front lines of the fight for paraprofessionals and education support staff, the fight for living wages, the fight for the benefits which all of those workers are entitled to, or the dignity which all of these workers must be treated. So thank you to Max, thank you to Deb, thank you to all of you for your unwavering leadership, for your steadfast partnership in this fight. And I'm also honored to share the stage with education support professionals, everyone who is up here, including Marissa Freed, Alex Rivera, Ortiz, Jahaira Rodriguez, and Holly Currier, and everyone else who is gathered here with us. It is the paraprofessionals. Bus drivers, everyone, all of the support staff, like you who turn classrooms and hallways and cafeterias and the school buses into safe, healthy spaces where children can grow and learn and the children can thrive. You are the backbone of our schools and our communities. You ensure that every child, regardless of zip code or ability or language, can achieve their dreams. You support students and parents and communities in every single way which is possible. And I live in Malden, and I've lived my whole life in Malden, and last year, Malden High School, the graduation class, off by a point or two. It was 25% white, 25% black, 25% Asian, 25% Hispanic at Malden High School last year. And you know what? It's a great high school. And you know what? Kids get a great education. And you know what? We have a low crime rate and a high unemployment in that kind of an environment. So that's where I live. That's where I've always lived. And that's what I know all of you do every single day in the communities in which you work. So you support the students, you support the parents, you support the community. You make sure that every child is given what it is that they need in order to maximize their God-given abilities. And right now, you're on the front lines of a draconian and authoritarian immigration enforcement regime that Donald Trump has unleashed in our communities. And the Supreme Court has rubber-stamped a regime that is striking fear in the hearts of parents and students and school workers and teachers all across our Commonwealth. Parents cannot safely drop their children off at school if they are worried about encounters with masked ICE agents in the parking lot or on the street. Students cannot focus on learning if they are afraid for their own safety and that of their families. Educators cannot teach when children are missing from classrooms. A recent study from Stanford University found a sharp increase in student absences of 22% in districts with a surge in immigration enforcement. You are all seeing it in Revere, in Chelsea, in Framingham, and in every corner of the Commonwealth. Deb just told me that she is reporting a 25% reduction in Chelsea. Deb just told me. That's astounding. I was out in Framingham just 2 weeks ago, visiting with school leaders in Framingham, and they told me that there are 600 fewer children in the Framingham school system than there were on January 20th of this year when Donald Trump was sworn in as president. 600 fewer children showing up to school that day in Framingham. Now you multiply that by all of the communities in Massachusetts, and we're only 2% of America, then you multiply by 50 for the whole country, then that's a massive number of children in our country who are not receiving the education they are going to need in order to ultimately maximize their God-given abilities and to contribute to our great country in the future. So for many of them, it's just COVID compounded by this authoritarianism that has injected itself into their lives, injected itself into what they are going to have to endure in order to get the education which they are entitled to. And Donald Trump claims that he is stopping violence, but in fact he is perpetrating violence on children when he rips away their families and rips away their chance at an education. The right to an education belongs to all children. This cruel crusade is immoral, and it must stop now. And I am going to fight insistently, personally, every day. Of tyranny which Trump and his Department of Education are imposing upon the children of our country. And I know that this trauma is weighing heavily on all of you. I know that some of you and your families are in the crosshairs as well. And I thank you for continuing to show up for your students and for your communities every single day. And I promise to continue showing up for you every single day. I will continue to be your champion in Washington, D.C. I will continue to be standing up for you to make sure that you get the protections which you need for your families as well as for the student families in our country. You support our nation. You are educating the new generation of Americans. You are fueling our future. It is long past time that the government steps up and supports you as well. Because right now, far too many educators and school workers are underpaid, undervalued, overworked. You are asked to do too much with too little. I've heard from cafeteria workers who rely on staff, technology support staff who can't afford Wi-Fi at home, and para-educators who can't afford to send their children to college. And that is unacceptable. It is unacceptable that 1 in every 5 paraprofessionals have to visit food pantries. And that was before Donald Trump and MAGA Republicans attacked SNAP and food access. It is unacceptable that paraprofessionals have to choose between affording a prescription or paying their rent. Paraprofessionals and education support staff need and deserve a competitive, livable wage. And that's why I am proud to be the lead sponsor in the Senate of the Pay Paraprofessionals and Education Support Staff Act. My bill would set a minimum federal wage for paraprofessionals in our country. It would set it nationally at $45,000 per year, or $30 per hour. This sets the bare minimum of a living wage, which states could go beyond. And I know Max and Deb and you want to go beyond that. In Massachusetts, You want to be the leaders. That's what it's all about. My bill provides $25 billion in federal funding for schools in Massachusetts. But here's what I know. An educational vision without funding is an hallucination. You got to fund it. You want a result? You got to fund it. You got to put the money up. You got to make sure that everyone has the funding they need in order to be able to get the education which they deserve. And I'm also a proud co-sponsor of the Pay Teachers Act, because our teachers in Massachusetts and around the country deserve livable, competitive salaries as well. I always say, educators' working conditions are students' learning conditions. And we're not going to win this, however, without a fight. And the good news is, the Massachusetts Teachers Association knows how to fight. They know how to win, because the Massachusetts Teachers Association knows how to organize. And the Massachusetts Teachers Association has won time and time again in setting the standard for and yes, I know about the teachers. Yeah, compared to the other 50 states, we're at the top of the list. You know what else I know? We're not happy. We can still see all the holes. We can see all of the other things that we have to do, even if we're already number one. It's number one with a lot of work to do. That's why you're so important. Nationally, because you set the standard. That's how last January we finally reversed decades of injustice and passed the Social Security Fairness Act. And we delivered hundreds of extra dollars a month of earned retirement benefits to 130,000 retirees just in Massachusetts, teachers in Massachusetts. Hundreds of extra dollars which they had earned. In 1983, when the harmful windfall elimination provision was first passed in Congress, I voted no. Now, this is a deal between Ronald Reagan and the Democratic leadership, including many of the most powerful people from Massachusetts in Congress. And I voted no. I voted no. And the pressure was on to be bipartisan. But it was to be bipartisan to hurt the pensions of the people who had earned it. And I saw that with my own father, who was a truck driver, when the company said to him, right at the end of his career, well, you know, John, you can either have half a pension, you know, because we might not have the money, or, you know, run the risk that over the next 20, 25 years it might not be there for you. You can't do that to people who dedicated their whole lives to that profession, to that company, to those schools. You can't do that. You know, so I signed on to repeal it. And it was unbelievable, but we built a coalition. It took many, many years, and we fought for a floor vote, and we won. And then, on January 5th of this year, Max Page and I were in the White House when Joe Biden signed the law to get back all of that funding. All of the employees who had earned those benefits. And that's where we were then. Now, Donald Trump has a different plan. And while you are showing up every single day and you're delivering for your students, we are watching Donald Trump and MAGA Republicans deliver only for CEO billionaires. Republicans are cutting public school funding to pay for tax breaks for the richest of the rich. This is Robin Hood in reverse. It is take from the poor and give to the rich. Take from the working class, give to the rich. That is what has happened. And then the president, he spent a lot of time doing a nationwide search to find just the perfect person to be the Secretary of Education for the entire country. And after a nationwide search, he decided it would be the head of the World Wrestling Federation, bringing all of her expertise from the World Wrestling Federation to the education of the children in our country. And I am on the education committee. So I'm there every day, policing this administration. So she came in to see me, because our committee is the one that had to confirm her. And I went through each and every one of those federal programs that flow down as funding into the schools of our country. And she kept saying, well, you know, I don't think I've really spent as much time as I could and don't have all the information to make a decision. And how about this next program? How about IDEA? Well, I haven't spent all the time on it that I could, but, you know, once I get all the information, I'll make a decision. Well, how about? I have to do more thinking about it. So she walked out of the room, and I said, you know, I think that was the highest prevarication coefficient I ever heard from one person in 1 hour sitting before me. And then the Republicans voted to confirm her, and the next day, I'm going to slash everything, she says. You know, I'm going to let DOGE come in, the Department of Gutting Everything, you know, beginning with education in our country. And so that was what I saw very clearly with her on day one at 8 a.m. That's what she was going to do to the school system. So that's why we got to fight back. And that's why you are so important, because you are the ones that do that work every single day. The average CEO in America makes 575 times as much as a paraprofessional in our school system. Those tens of thousands of people. Who contributes more to our society every day? Billionaires or all the paraprofessionals and all the schools all across our country? Billionaires don't need another tax break. Your students need support. You need fair pay. You need dignified working conditions. We need to expand federal education funding, not slashing it. Congress should take a page out of Massachusetts' playbook and tax CEO, millionaires and billionaires to fully fund public education across our entire country, using Massachusetts as the model. So, my father, who was a proud union member, he used to say, you can't beg for your rights. You got to take them. You got to fight for them. And that's what you do every single day. That's what I try to do in partnership with you in the United States Senate every single day. Keep organizing, keep fighting, keep pushing, keep saying no to billionaires, sellouts, no to MAGA extremists. We don't agonize, we organize here in Massachusetts. And we will fight, and we will win. And every day, on the floor of the United States Senate, when I vote, you have a union card on the floor of the Senate. This is my United States Senate card. That's what I vote. When I vote for you. I vote for the educators. I vote for the paraprofessionals. I vote for the educational excellence which you hope to provide for every family in our country. Thank you so much for having me here. Thank you.
To hear from some of our, for a few minutes, from some of our incredible ESP leaders here, and they're eager to share.
Beautiful.
Great. I think maybe they'll, if you want to they'll just come right up to that same podium.
Good afternoon. My name is Marissa Freed, she, hers. I'm a proud public educator, a fourth grade paraprofessional and a student teacher in the Cambridge Public School District. I'm also a strong union activist in my local Cambridge Education Association, as well as in my second job with the Massachusetts Teachers Association. I draw this strength from my colleagues and my union siblings. It takes an immense amount of strength to act like everything is okay in front of our students when we are far from okay ourselves as a direct result of the educator pay crisis. Maya Angelou once said, do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better. Educators are at a critical juncture where we know better, however, we need your help in order to do better. The salary floor for paraprofessionals in Cambridge is still just under $32,000, but if passed by Congress, Senator Markey's Paid Paraprofessionals and Education Support Staff Act would increase the baseline for these wages to $45,000 nationwide, thereby ensuring that paraprofessionals and education support staff in every state in this nation are paid fair wages and are better able to support themselves and their families. Let this be the day when we refuse to let the fire of educator burnout continue to spread until it engulfs us all, because then who would be left to educate our students? Thank you.
I was a commuter to Boston College, driving over every day. My father drove a truck, so I was a commuter. So in the year after I graduated from Boston College, I was a substitute teacher in the Malden school system for 1 year. All of these classes that I got to see all across the city that I did. And I learned a lot more about Malden than I ever knew about the job teachers have at all levels. And I don't claim to be an expert, except the paraprofessionals are experts. They are the professionals. They dedicate their lives to it. And so a big part of why I'm so committed to it is that 1 year, where I could see all of the people who work all day long in order to provide that education. So it came from my own personal experience in that 1 year in the Malden school system. And all I can tell you is I'm going to have your back throughout this whole fight. And we are going to pass a national paraprofessional. We create a national.
All right, who's next? Thank you. And Alex Rivera, too.
Good afternoon. My name is Alex Rivera Ortiz. I serve on the Executive Committee of Massachusetts Teachers Association, and I am a proud paraeducator for Worcester. Every single day, education support professionals are on the front lines of our schools. We support students with disabilities, provide one-on-one instruction, de-escalate crises, and feed students, transport them safely, and make sure every child feels seen and supported. For many students, we are the trusted adults who help them show up and succeed. Yet despite how essential this work is, too many of us are struggling just to survive. ESPs across this country are working 2, 3, even 4 jobs. We are skipping medical care, postponing having families, and leaving our professions we love, not because we want to, but because we have no other choice. Schools are losing experienced, skilled staff, and students are paying the price. This is very personal to me. My fiance and I are both paraeducators in Worcester. After 6 years together, we cannot afford our own apartment, and we're down to one unreliable car. We work hard, we show up for our students every day, and still, it's not enough. And our story is not unique. It's the reality for thousands of ESPs across our nation. Senator Markey's bill is a critical step towards changing that reality. And it invests in educators students are depending on. Strengthens school staffing and moves us toward a future where one job is enough, where educators can stay in the education system. Passing this bill shows respect and a clear message: education support professionals matter. I urge you, this bill needs to pass. Our educators, our schools, and our students are counting on you. And thank you, Ed Markey, for bringing this forward.
This all just goes to the looting of our country by Donald Trump and the billionaires in order to further enrich those who already have too much in our society. They're planning on building their 4th summer retreat somewhere around the planet, and what they want to do is just dismantle the healthcare and education system which we have in our country. And you know, if you're just looking at the funding, I went over to a school over at Boston College that has 30 kids with disabilities. I was over there a couple of weeks ago, and all of the funding for those kids either comes from the Department of Education, IDEA, plus Medicaid. That's what makes it possible for then parents to send their child over from Malden or from Waltham into that school. And without that funding from the federal government, it would be impossible to be able to provide for those kids. And that's 30 kids there, but it's multiplied by all the kids in Massachusetts schools, plus every other kid in America. So they want to loot it. Instead benefits, so they can live in dignity, with the health care, so they can live in dignity, so they can provide for every other child. So that's really what this is all about. We're at an existential point here in terms of what Trump and Linda McMahon and all the rest of them are seeking to do to the public school systems of our country. In fact, what they want to do is just vouch right and undermine completely the public school system in our country. Rather than funding it, they want to undermine it. And then leave behind the shell that will then have the greatest difficulty, especially in communities that aren't that wealthy, to deal with what is the residue of what the federal contributions were to education in our country. So that's at the heart of what this debate's all about. It's giving you and your fiancé the support you need so that you can provide that support to every other family that needs it. So again, thank you.
Thank you. We've got a couple more if we have time. And yes, Jaira.
We're already best friends. We just met in the hallway. Hello, everyone. My name is Jaira Rodriguez Figueroa, and I'm an ESPR Large Executive Board member and a proud para-educator at Southern Middle School in Worcester. I'm speaking on behalf of a retired ESP member, Johnny Stutterham, who dedicated nearly 30 years of service of the Weymouth Public Schools. After 3 decades of supporting students, educators of our community, Johnny retired earning just over $20 an hour, about $24,000 a year. The reality shows how deeply undervalued educational support professionals have been for far too long. Senator Markey's proposed bill established a $40,000 base salary is a critical step toward fairness and dignity for ESPs nationwide. ESPs are the backbone of our school, yet position remains unfilled and retention continues to decline because of the wages are not livable. This injustice follows us to the retirement, forcing many to choose between food, housing, utilities, or medical care. This bill is about respect, recognition, and economic justice. On behalf of the educational support professional, we thank Senator Markey and the bill's co-sponsor for standing with us and affirming the value of our work, because one job should be enough. Thank you.
And again, just showing how it comes out of Massachusetts, as I introduced the bill, Elizabeth Warren said she would want to be the first co-sponsor of the bill, right? So that's who we are. And we're just channeling the lessons we learned from the Mass Teachers Association. And what you need in your system in order to give everyone the support which they need. And including the bus drivers and everyone throughout the entire system. It's a seamless system which is constructed, and if we allow for the funding to be rooted, then ultimately it's the children who are going to pay the long-term price. And you just can't have COVID compounded by what Trump is trying to do right now and then expect to have our country be even greater in the future. The Boston Public Library has an inscription. And they were wise people 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 generations ago. And the inscription outside the Boston Public Library is, the education of its people is the best defense. Generations ago, they understood that. Somehow or other, Donald Trump doesn't understand. It's the education of everyone in the system that makes us as strong as nature. And I just so remember walking into the Boston Public Library as a young person, just seeing that, and then understanding who we are, going back to the first man, leadership, and providing that education for everyone. So thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you. Liza? Great.
It's a short answer. My name is Holly Carrier. I have served as an instructional assistant, or IA, for 12 years, and I'm the ESP at large on the MTA board. I was also the lead rank and file architect of the Massachusetts Educator Minimum Wage Bill. I was also on the bargaining team in Andover, where since ousted school committee members branded themselves as social justice champions, while refusing to pay a living wage to our diverse workforce of instructional assistants. Despite the intransigent school committee, our education workers won a transformational way for our ESPs by having the courage to go on strike. I want to acknowledge Senator Markey's public support of our strike and his responsiveness to ESP organizing for living wages. Our strike gains have allowed many of us to stay in the job a little longer. But let me be clear. The power of ESP organizing and raising our expectations is what brought this legislation to the table. And here's what educators across America must understand. Legislation that benefits the working class will never pass out of the goodness of politicians' hearts. When workers across the collective, partner and act boldly, that is how we win locally, statewide, and nationwide. Thank you.
You don't agonize, you organize. You don't beg for your rights, you organize and take them. That's what's been happening across Massachusetts. A lot of people don't like it, but it's working. And as a result, we get a response from the system that says we got to figure out a way to make it better. So thank you.
So, speakers, thank you. There's one person I want to ask a question, but go ahead.
So, thank you. Thank you all so much. Thanks for having me here.
Yes, I do want to, I know you were in a rush, but I really wanted Katie Licaro, who is an executive committee member and has been one of the many members who have been involved in the immigration defense